Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast that is dedicated to helping owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses thrive and have successful businesses where they're actually offering quality accounting services and getting paid what they're worth. This is a show committed to actually giving you the information you need by having experts on the show to address a variety of topics, ranging from pricing, selling, onboarding clients, marketing, tech stacks, and so much more. We also sometimes address things related to mental health and our personal well-being as it relates to running the business. And today's going to be exactly that. I'm happy to announce that on the show today, we have as an expert, Dr. Bijoy John, MD. Now, Dr. John happens to be someone that is a board-certified practicing sleep specialist. He is a physician with over 25 years of experience in this field. Sleep is vital to help with the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of individuals. So he shares his own experience with struggles with sleep in various stages of his life and how he actually overcame those by formulating seven proven sleep strategies for good health and happiness in his book, Nobody's Sleeping. So, Dr. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks for having me. You mentioned the key word, mental health. Sleep and mental health are very, very closely related. In fact, it's got a bi-directional relationship. When you sleep better, you're less anxious. And when you're less anxious, you sleep better. So the better part is to sleep better, and then we can be less anxious or depressed.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that right off. So I'm glad you've made that correlation. The anxiety can actually then be a problem for sleep. And if you're not sleeping, you can become more anxious. That's an interesting connection.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, before we get too deep into this, a little bit of your background. I mean, as a doctor, there's a variety of things that you could specialize in, things that you could actually become that expert. Why sleep?
Correct. See, from a very young age, I went to med school when I was 17. I knew if I slept the night before well, I did better on the exams. So this was like the 80s and early 90s, but nobody was talking about sleep. So then I specialized, and it was during my fellowship. My background is ICU and pulmonary lung field. One of my professors said, "Hey, sleep is the next big thing. This is, the late 90s." So I said, I'm going to specialized and curiously during the ICU, we also felt, part of the research, we actually let some of the patients sleep longer. Actually, their recovery was pretty significantly better than the people who wake up, make them awake at night. So from then on, I knew that this is something very, very unique. And as I did more research, and I'm practicing for 25 years, I'm able to see how sleep impacts all parts of the body, top to bottom, your cognition, your heart, your diabetes, your mental health, weight loss, exercise, and even libido. The sexual function is closely related to sleep. And of course, we talked about a little bit of mental health. So it affects all facets of our body.
Fascinating. This is quite interesting to me because I have a best friend who actually works in a sleep clinic. She is a nurse there and actually facilitates a lot of the studies that are occurring. So this is a common topic. And I coincidentally know a number of individuals that have sleep apnea. So that is a problem, and they're obviously dealing with it in a variety of ways. And so I'm wanting to talk about this both on a physical side as well as that mental that you brought up at the very beginning. So one of the things that I want to begin with, though, is I think just a natural thing as it relates to society, which is to simply say, why do we undervalue sleep? I mean, there is something to be said for people who are able to push through and not sleep and kind of get those fewer hours. What's this stigma that actually exists within society that undervalues sleep?
So it's a two-part answer. The part one, the common one, is sleep problems don't hurt like a toothache or it doesn't grow like a tumor, right? So when those two things happen, we're going to take care of it.
Uh-huh.
When sleep problems erode us slowly with time, there's no dramatic, cause and effects. So, but the good news is people are more aware. Once you are aware of the superpower that we have, the healing that it provides. Roger, anytime you have a problem in our lives, what do we tell everybody? Let's sleep on it, right? So there's got many, many functions. So that's why, sleep problems, affects us over a long period of time. So it does not get the attention. Number two, the misinformation that goes around saying, hey, you don't need to sleep. you can sleep when you die. Those people, I tell them, you're going to get your wish sooner or later. And then there are a few high achieving people. Elon Musk is one classic example. He doesn't sleep much, but that's a very few percentage. He won the genetic lottery. He's a short sleeper. They compact the powerful naps and sleep. But then when the message goes into the society and the press, people, hey, you need to work. You don't need to be sleeping. You see what I'm saying? The misinformation. He's an anomaly, and so we follow that. That becomes common. Press and people, what they do, they hustle, and compromise sleep. But it catches up with you, and then eventually you're tired and you cause an error or have an accident, which you can, repay that back. So that those are the two things. It doesn't hurt. And I say there's no pain, there's no gain. And number two is a misinformation that sleep is not that significant.
Interesting. Well, I agree with those two things. That's kind of profound. But one of the things that I want to dive into next is the fact that I think at different ages we have different sleep needs. So I've got grandchildren, they're infants, they're sleeping quite a bit of time, taking quite a number of naps. To have them sleep for, say, 8, 10, 12 hours in a stretch is fine, but then they're going to be taking a nap in a few more hours and get another 2, 3 hours of sleep. That's different than me. I'm not needing that much sleep. So there's different stages. I'm at a point now where I don't need much sleep, but that's been a natural thing for me my whole life. I've not really needed it. When we had children, I didn't have to sleep or I didn't mind being up with them all the time. How do you know if you're getting enough sleep, though? If everyone's
Right.
different and there's this proverbial 8 hours of sleep that you're supposed to ideally have, but what do you really need, and how do you know if you're getting what you need?
Great question. Like you said, children grow in their sleep, and the human growth hormone is secreted maximally in deep sleep. So different ages, teenagers need, pretty significant amount of sleep. But that's the area not many people are sleeping. But adults need about 7 to 8 hours. To answer the question, in the morning, when you feel you slept for 8 hours, and how do you feel in the morning? You feel ready to go. So that means you're doing well. So if you are tired after like 2, 3 weeks of regular 8 hours sleep, then you might have a sleep debt or a sleep disorder. So if you're feeling great, some people need 6 hours, some seven, some eight. So in the morning, how do you feel? Are you feeling rested? How you feel the rest of the day? But you are tired and groggy the rest of the day. That means you have a sleep debt or a sleep disorder.
Interesting. Okay. And how does food or, let's say, drinking impact that? Such as, obviously, if you eat too late, you might end up with heartburn. You might actually, when you're going to sleep late, or excuse me, drinking later in the evening, you might actually have to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. What are some of the best practices to do so that we're not disrupting our sleep unnaturally, so that we can get the full hours that we need without our body saying, hey, wake up, we need to take care of something here?
You might have read my book already, Roger. so, the chemical that puts us to sleep, melatonin, is secreted in darkness and lower temperature, right? So when you have a large meal, our body is churning that food, and it increases the body temperature. Even heavy, high meal diet, protein meal, that's a major. You're churning and you're increasing your body temperature, and you can't sleep. And of course, when you have a full stomach, your acid reflux, that then you tend to wake you up. So that's an important thing. And also, the more time you're awake, your more time you're going to be eating. That's why night shift workers are all overweight, because they spend a lot of time eating. That's a very important. And
Interesting.
lack of sleep alters our dietary hormones. There are two hormones that control diet, called leptin and ghrelin. That ratio is altered, and we have less of leptin and more ghrelin, and you tend to gain weight. And today, I make it, I talk to many fitness communities. I tell, if you're in the fitness weight loss, you have to put sleep as the foundation, right? So if you sleep better, I slept great last night. This morning, I went to an 8 o'clock gym class, and the guy was like, "Who slept there?" Hey, me and him were the only ones who slept. And also, for healing your muscles, the whole, human growth hormone is great. So the next thing you asked me about alcohol. Alcohol is bad for your sleep. Alcohol does not put you to sleep. It anesthetizes your brain. You go to sleep. Then, after 3 hours later, the alcohol metabolizes into a chemical called acetaldehyde, which wakes you up. See, that's why most people are in a hangover feeling, because of the chemical. Plus, alcohol is a diuretic, and you use the restroom, and you are like dehydrated. And you also mentioned people who drink a lot of water tend to wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. That affects your sleep. All that I mentioned in my book. I'm surprised you knocked it off in there, Raj.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so this brings me back to the first thing that we brought up then is
yeah.
the anxiety. This is quite interesting because as a business owner, one of the things that's natural, and perhaps it's natural just to say for as parents and so forth, we've got a lot on our minds. And sometimes
Mhm.
what happens is it causes an anxiety because we've got things we're thinking about as we're going to bed, things that we either need to do tomorrow, things we didn't get done today, things that we would like to address. But these anxious things that are racing through our minds, how do you slow down your mind so that you can fall asleep?
Perfect. Great question. The three stages of my life when I had sleep problems. One, as a medical student, I couldn't sleep. Then when my mom passed away, the grief, and then when I started my own practice and went on my own in pursuit of this passion to spread the good news of sleep. The bills, the employees, the new growth you have to do. So in my seven strategies, one of those things I tell people, because I hear it on the other end, people say they cannot slow down their mind when they lay down. Just like me, I was thinking about all the stuff. So one of the strategies is I say take dedicated time to worry. I dedicate that every day in my life between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Even yesterday, I didn't see the link for this chat today with you. I sent an email and I'm done at 8 p.m. And then what happened if I'm not able to resolve something, I actually write it down. So when you lay in bed, hey, I didn't resolve it. I'm going to attack it tomorrow. So this is very practical. It helps many people. So the next thing, how do you turn your mind off? You're bringing your best friend with you, and that's your cell phone. Everybody's best friend is their cell phone, and you're bringing with that with your into your. So you look into your email, text messages, likes, comments, and then the light from the phone. Melatonin is only secreted in darkness, and so you have to leave that out. So I tell people when you're entering the bedroom, it's like a TSA screener. Are you bringing your worries to bed? Beep, go back. Are you bringing your phone into your bedroom? Beep, leave it outside. Set an alarm. So that's how you turn your mind off. But the preparation starts, earlier than that, right? A couple of hours. So I dedicate people to do sleep from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you're done by 8 and you're slowly weaning your way down. And when you lay in bed, so you've knocked out the two important things. And then when you lay in bed, now your mind is free because you've addressed already the things. I practice something called vivid imagination. I've been doing this for 30 years. Even last night I did it. When I lay down, I think about the last show I saw. I'm watching this TV show. And then I started becoming the director and I go into abstract and within 30 seconds I'm out sleeping. So, but you have to give your chance to your body. Your preparation goes a little bit early. Of the seven strategies, these are the three big ones. It's dedicated worrying time, leave your phone outside, and then use the vivid imagination technique. I teach many other techniques in my book about the rest of the stuff, how you can get good sleep.
I love that. And, I'm going to add a fourth to your own list.
Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned it, and I'd like to highlight it because it's been very helpful to me. The anxiety that I have of I'm thinking of something, I feel inspired. Oh, that's exactly the answer to the thing that I need to take care of. But the concern I have now is I'm going to forget it as I go to sleep. And so if I can just write it down, like you mentioned a moment ago, I'm able to capture it. And now I don't have to worry as to whether or not I'm going to remember it or if it's going to be forgotten. It's written down. I'm not going to lose this inspiration that I received. And so I'm now able to relax because I'm not like, okay, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. I'm able to actually now set that aside because it's written down, it's captured, and I'm able to move on. So
right,
that's one of the big things for me is I've got some great ideas. They've come to my mind as I'm considering things throughout the night, but I've got to write it down. Otherwise, I'm just going to be anxiously sitting. Okay, I can't forget this. So that's one thing I would add to that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up then is you fall asleep,
mhm,
and then there's many of us who are older, and I'm experiencing this. I'm waking up, and it's not perhaps the I need to go to the restroom type thing. It's more I'm just waking up for whatever reason. I haven't figured it out. And here I am at 3, 4 in the morning going, okay, clearly I'm not supposed to be up right now. I need to fall back to sleep. But all of a sudden, I'm now going for an hour or two, just rolling and tossing. Do you have any suggestions for that?
So, sleep, we think, I was in a conference over the weekend. I drew this picture. You think sleep is like that, and then you wake up. It's actually multiple. It's like a silhouette of a downtown building. We go through many cycles and stages, and within those cycles, there are like REM sleep, non-REM sleep, and you are likely to wake up from certain stages of sleep. So the sleep and awakening is a very, very common thing. You're very close to, when the cycles go in and out. So, but if you're waking up with no obvious reasons, like you're not using the restroom, then you might have a sleep disorder. Some of the things that wake people up in the middle of the night is the number one is sleep apnea. When you study the word apnea is from Greek, to stop breathing, so that can wake you up. Number two is limb movement. Sometimes people jerk, and there's a easily treatable condition. And there's an extreme form of it. Some people punch and act out their dreams, and they wake up. So those are the three conditions. And of course, in younger age, something called sleep terror happens. So
Yeah.
if you're waking up dramatically or without a reason, which obvious, the obvious reason is use the restroom. Other than that, you might have a sleep disorder.
Yeah. And I'm glad we brought this up, because one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I know of a number of individuals, some of which have sleep apnea. And so they do have the machines that they're wearing and so forth. But the point is I'm hearing more and more people do this. They're taking earbuds, putting earbuds in their heads, and having these ambient things going on so that they can fall to sleep. And so they're listening to some podcast. They're maybe listening to a comedian. They're just listening to a show so that their mind can actually maybe disconnect and go to that. I'm finding more and more are doing this. And coincidentally, I just this last week tried that once, and I fell immediately to sleep simply because of the fact that I was listening to a show. It was fascinating to me. And I was curious, do you have any experience with that? Do you have any advice or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of slowing your body down. So, whatever works for you. But I still recommend see, everything comes with a price, right? The technology, most of these things are connected to your phone, right? So I tell people, do your, whatever the mood that's going to make you sleep, just outside the bedroom, and then leave, and then just carry on that I call the sleep shape, and then keep the sleep shape, and then go to bed. Don't keep it near you, right? So what happens in the middle of the night? People wake up and they look at the time. Wow, it's only 4:30 or it's only 3:30, right? That increases the cognitive or text message. Who's texting me now? And then so the unresolved issues like, hey, what happened to that bill, or you want to look in the email, somebody said something. So leave that. I'm a huge fan of slowing your brain for all the meditation apps and music and the podcast, but just leave it out. Get on the mood and come back, and separate yourself from electronics.
Let's face it, tax season is about the past. You're filing reports, closing books, and looking into the rearview mirror. But the most valuable advisors, they're not stuck in the past. They're helping clients build the future. That's where Clear Path to Cash comes in. It's the system designed specifically for accountants and bookkeepers who want to deliver real advisory value without the guesswork. With on-demand courses, live training, and a powerful cash flow app, you'll learn how to uncover hid cash, guide better decisions, and close more high-value deals, all by simplifying the way you talk about financials. And right now, just for our podcast listeners, you can try any membership level for free for 30 days. Just use the promo code UAC25FEE at checkout. Stop looking backward, start leaning forward. Visit cashflowmike.com and enter UAC25FEE to unlock your free trial today. I've formed an opinion on this, and a number of people have given advice, but it's removing, like you're suggesting, the technology away from the room. And I've had this said to me that the bedroom needs to be exactly that, a place where you go to sleep, that really nothing else is meant to be in there. It's not where you're supposed to be watching television. It's not where you're supposed to be doing this, that, or the other. And so it's basically trying to say, remove that technology. And my comment to it is this: do you find that in addition to the sleep that you're addressing, that the level of intimacy when you're sleeping with a partner is actually diminished when you have a television or phone that is brought into the bedroom?
The great point. A bedroom is for sex and sleep in that order, and then everything else has to be outside, right? You're bringing a lot of anxiety into into your bedroom. So the couples now, especially with the snoring, are having something called sleep divorce.
Hmm.
That's the technology that's come because one spouse is snoring, the other one has to leave, and that takes the magic of the relationship. There's something very spiritual and cohesive when couples sleep together. But the misinformation that goes in the press, people are saying it's okay to sleep separately, but it's not. On the long term, it affects the chemistry and the relationship. So I'm bringing couples back together. You're exactly right. Anything, all these are distractions. I still remember the 1999 Gore versus Bush election. I had the TV next door. Every minute they were changing. I was in the middle of my training, the sleep fellowship training, and that's when I was like, man, the TV got to go. And I removed the TV from that. And even to this day, I don't have a TV in my bedroom. I watch TV outside, and then I leave everything outside and walk in.
Excellent. I love this advice. Wonderful. Now, as it relates to the partner sleep, you were bringing up that there's this sleep divorce. I'm very familiar with the term, and I know of individuals that have actually done this. I remember first experiencing this when I went to my grandparents' home, and I all of a sudden realized grandma and grandpa don't sleep in the same bedrooms. And I thought that was so peculiar and odd. And then as I've grown older, I've just learned more and more and more individuals actually are doing this sleep divorce. So this is something that I am familiar with, but I agree with you. There's something intimate that occurs in the relationship in the sleeping together that when you remove that, it actually does have a possibility of negatively impacting the relationship. So something to be aware of. But the snoring, the sleep apnea, those things can impact the other individual's sleep ability simply because of the restless sleeping that's going on next to them. So what advice do you have for the partner who is dealing with someone who has these issues and clearly they're not addressing them?
Correct. The clear answer is the one way I tell people is to record something. If your partner is snoring so loudly, people are nihilistic. They don't want to admit it. Men snore louder because our larynx is bigger. The whole wind pathway is like a trumpet. So it goes down and gets amplified. That's the reason why men get diagnosed easy. Plus, in women, the estrogen is protective about the collapsibility of the back of the throat. But when women attain menopause, they lose that. So there's a dramatic increase in, I see many women around the 45 to 55 age group where they just like they can't sleep. They're dealing with menopause, plus sleep apnea creeps on them. So the advice will be, of course, the easy answer will put earbuds on yourself, but then the documentation is to proof, and then the person will listen to you and say, hey, here's the snoring, it's loud. And I get many recordings. I'm going to do a podcast with all the snoring sounds here real soon.
Well, what's funny about this is I've never considered myself a daily snorer. I mean, everybody snores at some point, but the daily snoring, I didn't consider myself a snorer. Well, coincidentally, I was with some young men and some adults. We were on a men's camp together, and it so happened to be that all the men were in one room and all the boys were in the other room. And all of us men, theoretically, were snoring all at the same time. But there were two individuals, particularly, that snored horrendously, one of which came with earplugs to share with everyone, knowing that he had sleep apnea. And it was just fascinating to me to hear, as you're describing it, the loud trumpets that were going on in the room. But the thing I wanted to bring up is your point of recording it. Sometimes it's just you're in denial. No, I'm asleep when I'm snoring. I don't snore. Well, if you've got that sore throat or if you've got that recording, maybe you can make a case to say, well, I think there's something more going on here. Now, you did bring up menopause. This is another thing. I'm not experiencing it, but with menopause, I'm aware of in the evenings having these hot flashes. Is there anything that can be done to actually help with the hot flashes?
Yeah, for men, I call it menopause, and women, I call it menopause, right? We, we are all at risk for menopause too. Our testosterone drops, and that's another reason. The estrogen and the testosterone keeps everything in good stead. The tonicity of the muscles. As it goes low, you lose tone. So there are, some, of course, for women suffer hot flashes a lot. There are many, techniques. I think one of those things is careful hormone replacement. Before everybody got replacement, then there was higher incidence of cancer. But there are newer medications that they can measure the levels and gently adjust that. Is great, works greatly for and a lot of other natural remedies, but I've not found that's one that works except the replacement appropriately done by a specialist of the replacement medication for hot flashes.
Yeah, like estrogen and so forth. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So this brings me to a question that I was very excited to ask, and I'm glad we're to this point where I can ask it. Let's assume that you are having these sleep issues and you're not getting the good rest that you spoke of earlier when you're waking up and you're feeling refreshed. So clearly you're not getting the sleep you need. And maybe it's deliberate. Maybe you've been working long hours because of projects that you're doing, and it's intentionally, I'm not sleeping a lot. I'm going to bed late and I'm setting the alarm, starting my day early. But my point is this: can you catch up on sleep? If you've gone with a sleep deficit over a few days, can you take a nap? Can you sleep longer a certain day? And will it catch up for the sleep, or is it something you can't get ahead on or catch up on?
Great. So, great question. So, sleep is affected by, few things. It can be affected because of your mental health. It can be affected because of medical reasons, or you just don't sleep well. So when I talk to somebody, I'm making sure they don't have mental health issues, or they don't have medical issues. Like if you have a heart problem, you get short of breath at night. If you have asthma or emphysema or COPD, you wake up. If you have acid reflux, if you have diabetes, use the restroom. So I have to rule all that out. Then I have to rule out whether you have a sleep disorder, the history. You snore, are you tired, you kick your, do you kick, or you have a condition, it's called restless legs. People are pacing in the evening before they got, they're rubbing the legs. So all that rules out. So when you're working hard and you don't have any of the other problems, then you have a sleep deficit. The young college students are the classic example. They don't have any medical problems, so they might have a little bit of anxiety, but they are going on low sleep. The college is most of the time is one big party. I see a lot of college kids. So even my own children, they come and tell me, Dad, I have a sleep problem. I tell, no, you don't have a sleep problem. You have a sleep deficit. So I make them come, unplug them. After 3 days later, they are rejuvenated. That's called bed rotting. I tell people to rot in your bed, make up for your time. And sometimes adults who are working hard, I tell everybody to take a nap and make up for them. But if it is persisting, and then you might want to consult with a sleep specialist to see what else can be go wrong. I'm a huge fan of naps, but naps on a regular person, like in the afternoon when you're tired, your body is in a lull. It's called the circadian rhythm influence. I take a nap. Everybody knows what Dad's doing at 2 in the afternoon. I'm taking a nap. That's why if you look at our body, we don't have any meetings around 2 because you're not going to be much productive. I'm trying to work with our Titans, the football team here, because we play all the noon games and we really lose in the third quarter. They're trying to change everything. My article made the news, and even in News Channel 5, the news, local news, that why if you do, you have to change the time. So our body is telling, we have a clock within ourselves, which is 24 hours and 30 seconds. Would you believe that it's going on this clock? So if you're tired, and you don't have any of the other reasons, medical, mental, or sleep disorder, then you clearly have a sleep debt. And young people are so much slow, deprived, and this called insufficient sleep syndrome. That's an easy fix. You just tell them to bed rot and they'll get better.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. In the accounting space, this is something that we experience not only as owners of the accounting businesses, but during tax season. Those that are involved in the tax preparation work will
Yes.
oftentimes find that there's a surge of work that goes on, and there is a deficit of sleep typically with those professionals that tend to work those longer weeks. And yeah, they're tired, they're exhausted, and they do speak of that quite regularly. So I think what we're discussing here is very timely. Now, as it relates to sleep, I know as a doctor you can't prescribe per se, but I do want to ask, is it okay to think that there are ways to maybe prepare for sleep and maybe do something as a ritual that, I don't want to say self-medicate, but the point is there anything that you can do that might help? I mean, earlier on, I remember hearing have a glass of warm milk. I mean, that was one of the things that some people would say. Any advice on that front?
Great. So, I have my, the one of those holistic methods I help people to sleep. It's called an acronym. It's called SLEEPNOW. I can quickly go over that. SLEEPNOW. That's the acronym I have. One is to have a good schedule. I tell everybody to, that's the S in the acronym, is schedule 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. because the great sleep, the sweet sleep happens early in the night,
Mm.
and the REM sleep, which is chaotic and not very restful, happens during the morning hours. So that's why the early to bed is important. Next is the L in the acronym: low light, low noise, low temperature. We talked about
Mm.
that. The melatonin, the word mela means darkness. So that's L. Then the next E is electronics, no to electronics in your bedroom. We talked about it. Then the next E in the acronym, Sleep Now acronym, is exercise. When we exercise closer to bedtime we releasing a lot of endorphins and chemicals. So make sure you don't exercise at least 4 hours prior. And also exercise releases heat, and that's not conducive for sleeping. And then the P is power off your mind in the acronym. So we talked about the schedule worrying time. And then I also talk about uh, you know, uh, talk about this technique called, yoga nidra, where you keep your arms down, and it's like a corpse pose, and you do a scan, all over the body. So I'm combining what is ancient and what's new. To have the best of both worlds. So that's another technique, how to power off your mind. And then moving on with NO is no to worries. We talked extensively about that. And the W is the win by losing. Sleep is one. The hustle culture, we want win, 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 win. But sleep is the total opposite of the hustle culture. You have to lose yourself. I tell people, I think, we don't go to the dinner table to get hungry, right? We only go there when we are hungry. So the bedroom has to be a place where you go to sleep, not worrying, not watching, news gathering, getting emails. So it's a place of rest. It's your sanctuary. It's your fun place to go and rest. So all those things, if you add up, Sleep Now. I have an available course on all that for people who can't see the doctors. So I have it online. So this is all my 25 years of experience. I've gone through all that myself, and I practiced it. I know it works because that's what I do to all the patients who come and see me, and I have great success with it. That's why my mission is to everybody to discover their superpower and be the best version.
Well, one, I love the acronym. I'm big on acronyms. That's wonderful that you've got the Sleep Now acronym, and I liked how you went through and explained each of the letters. The one thing I'd like to point out is we covered a lot of those leading up to the explanation of the acronym. But then the other thing is you, like the rest of us, sleep. So clearly this is something that you're practicing in your own life because of the fact that you're doing it just as frequently as we are. So that's really good. Get your free copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. This is a how-to guide for accounting professionals to work with their clients and actually implement proven processes and systems to ensure that their clients make profit a priority. It is in this book you'll actually learn how to map the business and, in fact, make marketing, accounting, and production a priority within your client's business. You also learn the wisdom pyramid, how to actually take the information you're providing to your clients and effectively use it so that they can make more informed business decisions. This book is designed to help you communicate more effectively with your clients and, in fact, have them see you as their profit and growth expert. Get your free copy now of the ebook today. As a tangent to this, I do want to ask a related thing, which is some people dream. I wouldn't consider myself a dreamer in the sense that there's very rare a dream that really stands out in my mind that I can remember. There are others, however, who do have a lot of dreams. If somebody was to say in sleeping, I have vivid dreams, I'm physically acting out, say kicking and so forth, or dreams where I have a repeated dream or anything. Do you have any dream advice? I mean, I know it's outside of the sleep expertise, but is there any comment on that?
Yes. Sleep is actually a spiritual. There are many meanings to not sleep. I'm sorry, dream. It's a very spiritual experience. There's many meanings to it. So a really good dream is that you don't remember it. Just like an abstract, you just get into it, and in the morning you completely fade off. But if you're having vivid dreams, one of the commonest things you might have is PTSD.
Mm.
Or and people with depression or anxiety, and they are the ones who are going to have vivid dreams. And also people with sleep apnea also sometimes have vivid dreams. So a dream should be completely abstract. I dreamt last night, but in the morning I don't remember it. So that's a beautiful dream. It's like a fog.
Hmm.
It's just like a mind play at night. So if you have vivid dreams, sometimes there's a dangerous condition called narcolepsy where you have really weird dreams and hallucinations. So be careful of that.
Yes, and with regards to dreams, the intensity, I like how you were describing it, does play into it because oftentimes if I have a dream, it just fleets very quickly in the morning. It just is the fog that all of a sudden dissipates, and it's like,
Yes.
okay, I think I remember a dream, but it
Yes.
just falls apart. Now, as it relates to sleep and dreams, where I wanted to go last is this idea of sleepwalking. Individuals who find themselves actually now getting up and having that state where they're not in bed, but they're out now walking around. Any comments on that?
Yeah, before I go, also, I forgot to mention sometimes the bad dreams are side effects of medications,
Mm.
even supplements. So just watch over whatever you're taking. They're very, very common. Anything can cause. So sleepwalking is an interesting concept. Usually happens in children. So you remember it happens in the early part of the night where we have the most sweetest sleep, but your body's not paralyzed. Later in the night, you have more dreams, but your body is paralyzed. You're not able to act out those dreams. So sleepwalking goes away by age 7 or 8. If a child is sleepwalking, there's a 100% chance their parents also sleepwalked. And so, but sleepwalking is also a side effect of certain medications that we have, sleeping pills that can cause you to do that. So usually happens early part of the night, not a major problem. You just come out of it. But if it persists through, I have a few patients who persist through adulthood, so that's kind of embarrassing. I tell them, they have a child's brain; they've not grown. Right? So, but I also rule out sleep disorders also, and the cure is very simple. It's a simple pill. You can take it and you get better.
Oh, fascinating. That's interesting. Okay, that's very good to know. Well, here's where I want to kind of wrap up as we're coming to the end is to actually share a few things that I found impactful in my life. One, with regards to health, there is a specific weight that I get to. And if I hit this specific weight, it is very common that I start experiencing heartburn. And that's just inevitable. I know if I get to that particular weight, I'm just going to lie down, and I'm going to find that that's going to happen with the acid reflux. The second thing is associated to the weight. If I eat too late at night, especially a heavy meal, I find that after, say, if I eat 7 or 8 o'clock at night, much later, and I eat that meal, it is inevitable that when I go to lie down, I'm going to find myself uncomfortable because the food is just so condensed in the stomach area that as I'm trying to get comfortable, I'm just going to be dealing with food issues the rest of the night as well. So those are two things, both the weight and the time. As it relates to drinking, that's usually not an issue for me, but I do find that if I drink a lot of caffeine after, say, 6 o'clock at night now, the caffeine will keep me up. So I'm a big soda drinker, and it's very, very common for me at dinner time to have a soda. So if I'm drinking later into the night because I've eaten later in the night, normally I'm just going to be creating a problem for myself. And it's not uncommon for me to be up until 1, 2 in the morning simply because of the caffeine that I drink. I drink a lot of soda at dinner time. So
Yeah.
anyways, the other thing that I'd like to point out is as it relates to the idea of writing something down, we covered this earlier. I found that the anxiety I have running the business and being the father, being a husband, just the things going on in my life, the honey-do list I need to get done around the house, those things, unless they are written down, they keep me up. And so the easiest
Right.
way that I found to actually address that is recording them, documenting them, putting them down so I can comfortably say, okay, I've captured that. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going to forget about it. I've got it down. I'm good to go. That's been very, very helpful for me. And then this thing as it relates to ambient noise or whatever, I have just recently tried what I've heard other people do, which is taking that earbud, put it in, and listen to something. And that one time I did it, I fell asleep quite quickly. I was shocked because the previous nights I was just staying up for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours before falling back to sleep. So maybe there's something to that. So just a few things that I can contribute, not as an expert. I'm definitely not a doctor, but there's some real life experience and a testament to a number of the things that you had brought up earlier. So as for this, is there a question I should have asked that I haven't asked yet?
I think we covered a lot of the panacea of of this whole chapter. And one thing is people don't talk about how sex and sleep are related. The sexual health. Maybe a couple of minutes here.
Yes.
So what happens is when you're tired, you don't have the energy to have sex. That's number one. You're tired, grumpy
Yes.
and anxious. Number two is when you have an apneic sleep apneic episode, there's less oxygen going to your reproductive organs, and your testosterone level drops. And so that's a huge reason. I see many young men who have low testosterone just because of sleep apnea. So by providing more oxygen, they can restart it. And also, maybe I need to cover this topic too. Cognitive health and dementia. The brain has got its own cleansing mechanism called the lymphatic system, and it only activates in deeper sleep. And so, when your brain is deprived of oxygen because of sleep apnea, the areas undergo damage, and is one of those treatable uh, causes of dementia. Yeah, so if you're snoring, you have to get help, because all those functions can be affected. So mental health and also dementia is preventable if you have significant sleep apnea.
Oh, very interesting. No, I'm glad that we pointed that out. That's something that I actually can relate to. So that's very good. Now, as it relates to sleep, I'm hopeful that my listeners took some good notes here, because I really felt that we covered a good number of topics that are very relevant to everyone's sleep patterns. So this was very, very insightful. So let me do this. I'm going to wrap this up. And as I wrap this up, I want to first of all point out that Dr. John happens to have something available for our listeners that you can find in the episode description that I'd like to encourage everyone to take advantage of. It is, first of all, his book, Nobody's Sleeping. It's something that I would encourage you to get. You can get it on Amazon. Go to the episode description and definitely check that out, simply because of the fact that I think that the acronym, the 7 things that we've talked about as it relates to sleep, are so important for us to revisit and assess, and more importantly, apply in our lives so that we can get the proper sleep we need, so that we can be top of the game as we're running our businesses. So clearly, go check this out, because I think this is something that we all are experiencing. Now, as it relates to that, you'll also find in the episode description his email and contact information. So definitely check that out. As it relates to all this, one of the things that I also want to do is just do a quick summary of the conversation, and then I'll come back to Dr. John for a closing thought. But as I summarize this, I do want to start first of all with the poignant thing that he said, which is the bedroom has 2 purposes: sex and sleep. And he said it's in that order. So let's start there, and let's keep that in mind. I thought it was excellent advice. As it relates to the various things, I love the acronym. The acronym I thought was very appropriate. We went through a number of various things that you can do to actually prepare yourself for sleep, such as removing the electronics. It was the idea of obviously having good weight and so forth. But I thought the thing that was very important is obviously the idea of when we fall to sleep, we want to set a schedule. We want to have a routine to this whole thing, because if we have a routine, our body is accustomed to that. And the other thing that I thought was very valuable is as it relates to if we have problems sleeping, it's a sign that there's probably something wrong going on, that you perhaps are dealing with a medication related issue. Perhaps it's dealing with a health related issue that you need to have diagnosed. It's something that you deserve to have resolved so you can get the quality sleep that you do. And I'll add this as it relates to stigmas around, say, sleep apnea and wearing the devices. You'd want to actually be complimentary, whether it's you wearing it or your spouse, your partner. You're in a situation where you want to actually not be comical or degrading of that ridiculous device. It's life-saving, it's life-changing, and it's definitely something you should be celebrating that the person is actually taking and embracing. Now, as it relates to the sleep, one of the things that I thought was also very helpful is that notation of how do you know if you're getting enough sleep? And it's whether or not you're rested in the morning. And the fact that if you're not rested, that you in fact can, through naps and as well through he said sleep rot, where you actually, or bed rot, where you go lay down and take a long needed rest. Those things can allow you to catch up on the sleep that you're missing out on and revitalize what you're feeling. So I think these tips and tricks that we've heard today obviously are very applicable and ones that resonate with me as I'm dealing with this on a daily basis like everyone else. So Dr. John, what else would you like to add as a closing thought?
Thanks, Roger. It was just a pleasure. I mean, looks like you are on top of your game. You are so knowledgeable. When I come on a show, it's always good to have the host know so much. Like I said, my aim is to promote make everybody understand the superpower and how much it can impact your brain, your heart, your functioning, and you can be a supercharged human being. That's why I'm on this mission. And, that's why I decided to write this book and get on the shows. And I'm on TV and radio, and even I have on Sleep Fix Academy website. After the acronyms, people can go and take the course and and sleep great. So to discuss this on your show, I hope all your followers took notes, because understanding is the key. First, hey, the sleep is great, and then of course when you're snoring and if you're moving around, you have those problems to take care. So I'm really glad that we covered everything. Sometimes I never get a chance. We did the acronym, we did all aspects. I'm really happy and proud that how you interacted with me, and I'm sure your listeners will be benefit. And my aim is everybody, let's all sleep well and be well.
Well, I'm going to definitely say this. We're all sleeping. If anything, let's be experts in this very thing that we do on a daily basis. So yeah, it's a topic that I wasn't afraid to discuss simply because of the fact that I'm experiencing it. And honestly, as I've gotten older, I've had various issues, and I've had individuals that I'm very close with who have experienced various challenges. And as I've learned, and as I mentioned, I've got a best friend that is actually in a sleep clinic. This is a topic worth discussing. It's something that everyone should know, and there shouldn't be taboos or phobias about it. There's one thing I neglected to bring up, and I bring this up with all the newlyweds that I deal with. My children, all three of my children have recently wed in the last few years. I've got friends that are having their children wed, and I tell all of them this one thing. If there is an investment you can make, it is having a good quality bed. You spend 8 or so hours a day in that bed, you better find a very good bed to rest in. So there's a lot of things that young people can say they want to invest in, spend money on: good clothes, a good phone, a good computer. Get a good bed. If as a couple, when you first get newlywed, get a good bed, you're actually starting off, in my opinion, on the right foot, because if you're waking up rested, it'll actually improve the relationship. Would you add anything to that?
That's a great advice, because sometimes one of the things that affects your sleep is pain. You see, nowadays mattresses are so good, they can counter your body and the spine. And in fact, if I have play and do boot camp, I'm hurting, but then the bed controls that. So that's a great advice. Plus, this bed have the cooling capacity now. They will help with your melatonin secretion. But here's a word of caution. Sleep problems are from within, right? If your brain's not able to turn off, and then if the back of your throat is closed because of sleep apnea, those problems needs to be fixed from inside out. The mattress is trying to fix it outside in, so it's going to make then the pain better, and also the cooling. Other than that, when they say it's going to heal sleep apnea and it's going to create your insomnia better, please watch out. That's
Yeah, the bed can only do so much.
correct.
That's right. Very, very true. All right. Well, with that being said, this has been an excellent discussion, one that I was so glad to have had. I appreciated the depth of which we were able to dive into this. So thank you for the conversation. As for my listeners, if you haven't already, I want to invite you to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe and get notified each and every week when we release a new episode, so that you can hear from the experts the various things that you need to be considering as you're running your successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax business. And this is an excellent episode to consider for that. Now, as it relates to episodes, if you'd like to binge listen, go back and listen to the past episodes. We've got a variety of topics that I'd invite you to go check out, things that are relative to your current situation, ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, tech stack, onboarding staff, and yes, mental health. So if you'd like to check those out, I would encourage you to go to universalaccounting.com, and in the navigation of the website, you'll actually see podcasts. In the podcast section, you'll find the highlights, and that's there that we have the playlist for you to binge listen. So go check those out. In addition to this, I want to invite you to GrowCon. If you have not yet registered, register and get your ticket to join us for the annual event where we meet with the owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. We bring to the stage the experts, those individuals that have timely information for us to actually work on our business, and at the same time, take advantage of the opportunity to meet and interact with our peers, those individuals like you and me that are actually out there working to successfully have our bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. Now, with the peers, you're able to make new friendships, build relationships, even collaborate and actually take back to your clients additional services that they can benefit from. It's here that you can be inspired by those who are doing the same as you. I also want to point out that it's at the event GrowCon that you're going to meet the staff here at Universal Accounting Center, those individuals that are committed to actually helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. So come join us, and I look forward to seeing you there. As it relates to this topic, our programs, what Universal Accounting Center has to offer as it relates to offering quality accounting services, training you and your staff to, in fact, build a thriving bookkeeping, accounting, tax business. Check us out at universalaccountingschool.com. And with that, find out what programs are available for you to actually build your thriving business. Or you can give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is Universal. Take care, be safe out there, and have a great day.